Miller, author of Uncopyable, legend in the marketing world. That's you. That's you.
I don't even have a book in front of me, so all right. Well, I got this book.
Oh, there it is.
I got that book back there. But
he's got a lot of books.
I got a lot of books.
How many books have you written, Steve?
I'm up to it's either 11 or 12 books, something like that. I actually have a lot of other books that are not really published, but it's because it's easy to write a book if you have a lot of content.
If you get something to say,
absolutely. And I say that flippantly, and I shouldn't, because writing a book is stupidly hard.
Yep.
And the stupid is the main part of that. To want to be a writer is stupid. But you see, it's like saying anybody who says that they love to write books is a very sick person.
Or a liar.
Or a liar. But what we like is the book.
To have written.
I want to have had. I want to have a book. Okay, I don't want to do the book, but
there's nothing like the feeling of seeing that completed manuscript, right? I mean, I just think it's a feeling that a lot of people don't get to experience, but it's such a, and why is this? It's such an encapsulation of your ideas.
It's well, because there's there's some type of a perception people have about authors.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can write a book and then like you say, I mean, especially, the first book, and when that box arrives, from UPS, and you open it up and it's your first book and you pull that out, I mean, it's emotional.
Yeah.
It is very, very emotional. And it doesn't matter whether you self-published it or if, or if you had, hardcore, I don't know, one of the big ones do it. It doesn't matter. It's a book. It's a book. It's now a published book. And you can go to Amazon. And you can see your name. And then you read the bad reviews.
No, but why is that though, Steve? Because I mean, I think beyond, the gravitas that comes with it and all that stuff, it's like just that legacy.
This is not coffee, by the way. So just want to make sure you know.
Well, that's why I'm pretty much expecting that. But the legacy aspect of it, or something about it's like it's a little taste of immortality. I don't want to.
It is, and you know what? That's a really good way. It's not just a taste of immortality. In a sense, it is immortality. And there's a really great. I think it's a great perception. People say that you actually don't die until they forget you. Right? I don't know. I don't remember where I heard that, but it's sort of like when they stop thinking about you, when they forget you, that's when you die. And and a book keeps you alive for a very long time.
It does. We actually got a friend here. He knows you well. Good job, Matt.
I expect no less from my friends, Mr. Gousset.
Matt Gousset has actually written a book himself in fantastic effort and in a smart move on his part.
My fault.
Yeah, it's your fault. You're right. Steve, okay, so you're here to talk about being uncopyable. It's the name of your book, How to Stand Out by Being Different. And you are definitely a guy who's made a career out of that and helped marketers and companies distinguish themselves by being different. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about this, why this is so important, especially in the day of AI, probably now more than ever, when everybody's going to start sounding the same unless you get an original thought or two. But talk to me a little bit about this whole concept of uncopyable.
Well, like, where did it come from? I had a great lesson growing up. My dad was the he was a co-inventor of the 8-track tape player. And when he and his partner Bill Lear were developing that product, they brought in an outside guy from Japan, an American consultant who was working in Japan named W. Edwards Deming to help with that. Now he wasn't. You see, the look you just gave, right, is a knowing look of who Deming was, right? At that time, nobody knew who Deming was,
Mhm.
right? He was just a guy that was consulting. Now he was on the precipice of working with Toyota, which is what just blew the whole thing up. But he was working with my dad and Bill Lear because they decided and it was a financial decision. They decided that they had to go somewhere. They had to go outside the United States to produce the 8-track, the original 8-track, and so they decided to go to Japan. Now, this is back in the 1960s, and even then, Japan was still rebuilding from the war.
Right.
And so back then, made in Japan was not it was not known to be high quality stuff.
Like made in
Right?
China.
Yeah, I mean it was the little those little wooden umbrellas that you would open and close to put on your Mai Tais. That's what they were known for. And so both my dad and Lear knew that they had to build a product that had high enough quality to be able to be sold to the consumer nation known as the USA. And there was this guy, and my dad found this guy just kind of through the channels in Japan, Deming, who was teaching total quality management at the time, and so they brought him in, and so unfortunately, because I was a very young teenager, unfortunately, my dad's idea of spending quality time with his teenage son was to drag me to meetings with Deming and Lear.
Wow.
And which I had no interest in whatsoever. Okay. But Lear was great. He loved people. He loved everybody. He's really a lot of fun. Deming hated everybody, especially kids. And I shouldn't say hated everybody. He just the better phrase is he looked down at them. He felt most people were not intelligent, and especially kids. And so it wasn't that he was a jerk or anything like that, but he really kind of was condescending. And so he would, but sitting there, he would get into conversations with my dad and Lear, and then he would turn to me and he'd say, "Well, what I'm talking about here is this." See now, and so what ended up happening was I was getting an education I didn't even know.
Sure.
And the number one thing that came across that ended up being, a staple of total quality, and is now a staple of Uncopyable, is the idea of benchmarking. And the definition, and this is really important, and I don't want to draw it out too long, but this is a really important part of for anybody who wants to separate themselves from the crowd. See, the definition of benchmarking is to observe correct behavior and then emulate within your own context. So you go in the typical way people. So let's think about the box, for example. All right, we all know about the box. You're supposed to get out of the box. All right. Well, what the hell is the box? Almost nobody ever explains what the box is. They just say, you got to get out of the box. Yeah. And I say, when somebody says that, I just go, well, where's the box?
Where's the box?
What box are you talking about? Well, it's actually real simple. And it's important to also understand this. We all live in a box. We all do. But our box is determined by what we do, who we hang out with, everything like that. So like if we say manufacturing, that's a box, all right? It's a different box from food. It's a different box from healthcare. I mean, there are an infinite number of boxes out there. And then you think about the box, and then in that box, there are other smaller boxes. Okay, so it might be that you're manufacturing. Well, you're in aerotech, or or I don't know, supply. I mean, shipping or something like that. And that's the smaller box you're in. So now let's just stop there and just talk about the smaller box. Well, who's in that box? Well, everybody in that industry is in that box. Everybody. All the suppliers are in that box. All the buyers are in that box. The media is in that box. If trade shows are in that box, they're all in that box. And what happens historically? Historically is we live in a box of our peers, our industry, our culture, our language, all of that stuff. That's where we live. And so and it's kind of like that's our world. And so what are we doing? Like if we're a company inside that box, we're making stuff inside that box. Who else are we studying? Everybody in the box.
Mm-hmm.
That's who we're studying. That's who we're studying our competitors. We're studying everything. I mean, just everybody that's in the box. And so and who are they studying? They're studying everybody in the box.
In the box,
including us, right?
right?
So everybody's looking at each other, and it's a constant moving thing where all we do is just pay attention to other people. I mean, other companies who are in the box, and then we say, all right, well, we need to come up with a new idea because our sales weren't as good last year. What should we do? Well, we should. You know what? I heard that company ABC over there, did this. So like think about hotels. So and I'll ask you this, Greg.
Hmm?
Are you familiar with the heavenly bed?
I am not.
You're not. Okay. There is a hotel chain that started. Well, actually, let's go back farther. Are you familiar with coffee makers?
I am.
Do you ever see a coffee maker in your hotel room?
I do.
Yeah. But you know what? How many hotel rooms have you been in the last 10 years that don't have a coffee maker?
I would say maybe 2 or 3, just
Out of
anecdotally. Out
what?
of
A
yeah,
lot.
a lot.
Right? Out of a lot. So in other words, almost all the hotel rooms have a coffee maker.
Yeah, and the reason why that should almost stand out because I can remember my wife saying, "There's no coffee maker."
That's right, because it is now an expectation. But there was a day when somebody checked in, and they walked into the room, and there was a coffee maker sitting there, and they go, "Hey, what's that? There's a coffee maker in here." Okay, and so it was new. And all of a sudden you go, holy crap, next time we go on a road trip, we're going to stay at this kind of a hotel because they have coffee makers, right? And guess what all the other hotels did? They put coffee makers in, right? So that's they sat down and they said, oh, we're losing money. What should we do? And somebody said, well, these guys, they have coffee makers. We can do coffee makers. Actually, and you know what else we can do? We can do better coffee makers. We can make ours easier to use, hotter, last longer, or all that kind of stuff. So what we do is we want to make it better.
Right.
And that's that ugly competitive wheel that most companies and people fall into is they go, we need to be better. And in some places they call, oh, we're always looking for incremental innovation.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to be very blunt here, and excuse me, but I'm going to say, who gives a shit about incremental innovation? Right? Because as soon as you come up with a better coffee maker, everybody else is out there going, we can make it better. Right? So that is the competitive world that most people look at, live in, and practice. And back to Deming, Deming had this thing where he talked about benchmarking, and that's what benchmarking is that we study correct behavior and then we emulate within our own context. But if all you study are the same people, you're not gonna get anything new. You're not gonna get any new ideas.
Right, because if the hotel owner who came up with the coffee maker was just studying people in his box, he never would have come up with the coffee maker. Did he
That's
go
right.
outside?
Yeah, and we don't know where it came from, but somebody came up with the idea. So, like for example, and there are lots of stories. Okay, the one that I find that I like the best, but where did the drive-through, the fast food drive-through come from?
I do not know.
Okay, it's so obvious. Okay, and I love this story, and I use this story all the time because I can't find one that actually, in my opinion, is older. But Fort Huachuca, Arizona, has an Air Force base, and for years, the the military, they were, when they would go into when the guys would go into Fort Huachuca, they'd hit McDonald's. And then one day a new commander, I don't know, I wasn't in the military, I don't know what you call him, but anyway, a base commander, right, a new base commander came in, and he said, okay, you are not allowed to go into any stores in Fort Huachuca if you are wearing fatigues or military uniform or something like that. You have to not be wearing it in order to go into a store. Well, McDonald's is in there, the guy at McDonald's, he's going, oh my God, what are you talking about? My whole business, 80% of my business are people walking in fatigues.
Yeah.
All of a sudden one day they weren't. All of a sudden they're gone, right? He's driving around. He happens to go through a bank, a drive-through bank window. And they push the tray out, and he looks at that and he thinks to himself, I can put food in that.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of drive-through fast food. See, so what happened? The bank, he's not in the bank box. All right. So when he's driving through the bank and he looks at that, he's all of a sudden goes, oh my God, that's different. Never thought of that before. And it's in the bank box. Okay. So back to Deming. Deming said, see, I think this is such a great lesson for people. I just beat people up about this. See, Deming said, and he was starting to work with Toyota.
Okay.
And the reason why he was working with Toyota was because he taught this total quality thing, and he was getting no traction in the United States. And one of the big things about the total quality was that a cornerstone of it was benchmarking. But he had two definitions of benchmarking. And he said the first definition was what he called intrinsic benchmarking. And that meant you're in your box and you study everything in your box. Now, you're not looking for new ideas because there are no new ideas in the box. But you are looking to see, it's the old, what do they call it? A minimum viable product. Okay. The box tells you what the minimum viable product needs to be. It tells you what the minimum level of quality,
Mhm.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know where the starting point is. You know where the ante is to be in the game. Okay. But Deming said, if you want new ideas, you have to, and it goes beyond getting out of your box. When they say you got to get out of the box, no, he didn't say get out of your box. He says you got to go climb in another box. So you go climb into the banking box. You're in the food industry, but you go climb into the banking industry box, and then you study them. And when you do that, you actually start, because you start to see things where if you're in your box, there are common best practices in your box,
Mhm.
right? But the, there might be common best practices in your box that are completely foreign in another box. And of course, vice versa, that if you go into other boxes, you're going to find ideas, examples, uh, um, practices, behavior. I mean, you're going to find stuff in there that are completely foreign to your box. So you go steal it and you bring it in, just like the McDonald's guy did when he went out and did that. Okay. Now, of course, once it catches on, I mean, you have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
You have to keep looking, and you can't just keep looking. You see, so like in his example, he went from the food industry box, fast food industry box, to banking.
So, question for you here. How do you figure out there's a lot of boxes out there, Steve.
That's right.
How do I figure out, because I imagine if I'm going to go examine a box outside my industry, it's going to take me some time. I don't
Maybe,
know. I don't know the
maybe
process. Maybe. How do you figure out where to go, what boxes to look into? Are you just kind of out there poking around?
a lot of it is out there poking around. Like when Kelly was growing up, um, and my BFFs, the people who are, I hate to say follow me, but the people around me, they're not a tribe, they're not a herd or anything. They're my BFFs. Uh, and those who are my BFFs, they know that we go out and look for these all the time. And one of the things that we teach, and this really was Deming. I gotta give Deming so much credit to this. He caused me to see the other boxes
Yeah.
24/7 every day, no matter where I am. I am
Yeah.
in when I am out and I'm in somebody. We were in other boxes all day long,
Yeah. Right. Right.
okay, and we are paying no attention to it.
That is so true.
And the biggest, the most classic example in my life was Kelly growing up, and she loved American Girl doll. And when she was growing up, there was you could buy it mail order, so stupid expensive, and there was one store at that time, and it was in Chicago. And when Kelly was turning 10, Kay and I said, what do you want for your 10th birthday? And she said, I want to go to the American Girl store. Okay. I, I had 1,000,000 miles on my
Yeah.
frequent flyer. I have hotel points. I have all this stuff. And it's like, why not? Why not go and take Kelly to the American Girl store? Now, of course, I had no expectations whatsoever. We're going to a doll store.
Right.
So we go there, we walk in to the doll store. First thing I see are couches all over the place. Couches
What's going on here?
in a doll store? What are these? Why are couches in a doll store? The couches are for the people who are not the moose. Now you and I mean, I hope you know what I'm talking about now. Okay, in my world, we talk about our target market. I don't use avatars. I hate avatars. Don't talk to me about avatars. Moose. You are hunting moose in the forest. That's how you say, I'm hunting moose in the forest. And there are thousands of other animals in the forest. And I am not paying any attention to any of those. I'm just hunting moose. So I need to know the moose as best as I can. And that is actually a much easier picture for people to get
Mm-hmm.
than, oh, I need to know a 42-year-old white female, sort of female. I mean, no. Just you're hunting moose. Okay, so you think about and you go, okay, well, wait, well, who hunts who are the moose for a doll store? My daughter and my wife, and they want to go inside, and they're dragging me along with them. How much time do you think I want to spend in there?
0.
Zero. So what do? They put couches for dad and brother and grandpa to sit and relax, because and the famous story in my books and stuff like that was the time that Caterpillar wanted to do some work, and they were based in Chicago, and I got a bus, and I took the Caterpillar people. We got in the bus and we drove downtown to the American Girl store, and I said, we're going into the doll store. And these guys all looked at me and they said, you are out of your mind if I'm going to go spend time in the doll store. I said, trust me, guys, go in there. You got your notepads. You're going to take notes. I want you to go in there and I want you to study. What are they doing to get their moose to give them money? I had to drag them out, kicking and screaming, probably 3 or 4 hours later. It was it's unbelievable the number of ideas you come up with. All right, and they went in, and you go, and so the idea is you go study foreign boxes, and you go and you ask me, like, how do you pick? Well, there's really, you're really, actually, the more foreign the box is, the better,
Wow.
because it is completely out of your element.
Yeah.
The more out of your element you are when you go to these, or study these, or read these, or watch these, or anything like that, um, the the better it's going to be. See, because then you just ask simple questions, and yes, and for most of us, the simple question is, what do they do to get their moose to give them money? What do they do to attract their moose?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because you just talk in terms of a moose,
Mm-hmm.
and then so then once you're doing that, it's actually pretty easy. You see, you might go to tonight. You might go to a Starbucks or to a restaurant somewhere. Well, that's a box. You can now walk in there and you can say, okay, who are the moose? And what are they doing to attract the moose? What are they doing to make the moose happy? And what are they doing to make the moose want to come back? And these are all questions we ask ourselves about our moose. But I don't care. Because again, see, ultimately the Caterpillar people, they didn't care that we went to the American Girl store. They just cared that they got ideas.
Yeah.
And they were ideas that were not in construction.
Love that.
See,
Love
and
that.
that's the big thing. That's the big thing. So see, you and I have already we've already kind of moved in that direction, because you and I have had conversations, and I know that, like, the big three of my world. All right, you see, look, when you look at my world, Greg, you say the big three that Steve is going to teach you is number one is you got to build your own box. So now, what does that mean? Well, essentially, see, if we recognize we're in a box, acknowledge it. Come on, we're in a box. But if you want to separate yourself from the competition, and they say get out of the box again. What the hell does that mean? Right? No, you build your own box, and you say, okay, I've got this box over here, and I want this moose to want to be in that box with me. Now, what do I have to do to get that moose to want to be with me in the box and stay in the box with me? And nobody else can get in the box. And I also am doing things, and I'm also doing things that are very difficult to copy. I mean, now that's a different conversation, okay? But that's essentially what it is, you see. And or at the same time, I'm putting in the very first coffee maker. I'm putting in the very first drive-through, and it's and yes, somebody might copy that, but it's going to take them a while.
Right.
And in the meantime, I'm going to go find something else.
You're going to go on to the next one.
That's right. I'm going to go on to that. So that Walt Disney said that. He was somebody was interviewing him one time when he built Disneyland. And they said, "Aren't you afraid somebody's going to go build another Disneyland?" And he said, "No." He says, "Because how long is it going to take him to build a new Disneyland? And during that entire time, I'm going to be building the next one."
Right. And you have to convince
what he said.
Yeah, and you have to convince somebody that your Disneyland is better than the original, the best one.
All right, and if he needs investors to help him, or who's going to give the money? Are they going to give it to somebody who's never done it?
Yeah.
Or are they going to give it to Walt Disney?
Steve, we're at the top of the hour. We could keep going. This was a half-hour show. I know
What?
it's.
This
I
is
know.
a half-hour show.
I'm sorry. We usually don't have people that have as many ideas as you do. I usually just get guests. I'm like, don't be as big a thinker as Steve, and you can come on show. I'm kidding.
Hey, I think too much. I do. I think this. I love that. I'll tell you what. I think that when I first was exposed to Deming, now my dad, was an electronics guy, and he was a DJ. He was a news anchor for WDAY radio and TV in Fargo, North Dakota. Shout out to North Dakota. And I think, I think that, my dad got very lucky in some ways. And the problem for my dad was he didn't get it. He got it from the perspective of, oh, that's a good idea. Let's go do that and make money. And they were sort of successful. The 8-track had a very short lifespan.
Yeah.
Okay, very short lifespan. And heck, I even tell a story about how when Philips came out with the audio cassette, my dad said, "Oh, we can build a better 8-track." And and so they built an 8-track that could do recording, and maybe fast forward or no, and stuff like that. But ultimately, it was dead. And I ultimately consulted for Philips.
That's funny.
So anyway, but I got very lucky that when I learned this stuff, because now, and my challenge to you or to anybody else who's watching or listening or reading this is, wherever you go next, if you're in a Starbucks, or in a Home Depot or something like that, just stop. Look around, open your eyes, and just say, what's going on here? Who's the moose? How are they getting the moose to come in? And then how are they getting the moose to give them money? Is there anything in here that I can steal? You know,
Steve, let's end it on that because that is perfect. Thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing that gold. And every marketer should, and every business person should be have that mindset 24/7. It'll make life. I'm guaranteeing it'll probably make your life much more interesting, make you much more aware of your surroundings, and probably make you much more successful. There you go. There you go.
did I get it all in there?
You got it.
All
You
right.
got it. Be
Yeah.
uncopyable / windbound. What do they get if they go to that URL, Steve?
My smoking hot wife Kay, who was was the world's #1 muffler salesperson. That's another story.
Okay.
She put together it's 25 action steps that you can use to be uncopyable,
Oh,
and
awesome.
so go get that, and hope it
We'll,
helps.
we'll put the link in the comments. And Steve, thanks, man. I just
Greg, I would like to do a bunch of this
yeah
with you.
yeah no seriously.
Although I part of it is we also have to have you talk. All right. So, this was a speech and I apologize for that.
No,
I
that's why
wanted
you're
to
on
be,
the show.
you know, you're a great guy. I love this guy, people. Am I pointing in the right direction? Okay. And see, I'm his best friend. See that? And so thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the next Thought Leaders Live.